Hey everybody, it is Quicken and welcome back to Tattoo Talk Tuesday. So if it is your very first time joining us, Tattoo Talk Tuesday is our weekly little talk show where I take viewer submitted questions and try to lend my experience to you guys as a tattoo collector. So a little bit of a hiatus on the old Tattoo Talk Tuesday. I think it's been exactly a month since our last episode, which was all about gender preferences on like who tattoos you. So today I wanted to touch on a subject that I made a video on maybe like 2 summers ago, but the video is called like my friends and family shame me for my tattoos. So I got a question that was like, my parents just absolutely do not accept my tattoos. They do not accept my like alternative lifestyle. What do I do? So I've answered this a couple times on Tumblr, so many times that I feel like I have the language down on answering this. However, it's not like, I don't know, it's kind of like a harshened answer. So today I want to talk about like what if your parents just like do not, Ethan, just sit on my lap, man. Just sit here. So today I want to talk about, what if your parents do not accept your tattoos and your alternative lifestyle? What do you do? And I kind of thought this question would be like a certain age bracket. Like I was like, well, I don't know if I should talk about this because it only affects like 16 to 25-year-olds. But honestly, at any point, you could have a relationship with your parents and all of a sudden they're like, nah. So I do want to say that this is kind of just like what I tell myself or what I've gathered from like conversations I've had with friends and stuff, but I do want to jump into it. If you want to see the video where I talked about like my parents and my friends shame my tattoos, I'll leave a link for that. I figured this was different enough to talk about and something I definitely like talk about but don't have a specific video on. So I feel like my perspective on this topic is like a little tough love, and like definitely if you have your own preference to things, for sure live that way. I think, when I started getting tattooed, my parents, my mom, like those parents, my mom was more accepting of it because she is a young mom, and I think, if you had older parents or something, they might have a different idea of tattoos. However, getting like a tattoo when I was 16, getting my belly button pierced, getting my tongue pierced when I was like in high school and stuff, I don't think this really fazed my mom as much as she was like, she's young, I get it. When I started to get more heavily tattooed, that's when I experienced like resistance from my parents, resistance from peers, professors in college. Like when I started to really get tattooed, that's when I started to feel like outside resistance. And I think, as you get older, you lose that idea that like your parents are your caretaker, and you get to a point where your parents become your equal, whatever age that may be. If you are 18, if you move out when you're 21, 25, one day your parents will no longer be your caretaker. It may never happen. You may live with your parents into your 30s, you may move back home. However, you have to decide, do I stand with my parents as an equal? Do they still take care of me? Or is their job taking care of me finished? And now we have the opportunity to either be friends and equal people, or you kind of lose that and it dissolves and you move out, you move on, you move to a different city, and you have to decide things on your own. I think one of the things I always say on Tumblr is if your parents financially support you in any way, you live with them, they pay for your car insurance, they pay for your phone, they pay for your college, I think that rebelling against your parents in that sense could harm something that you need to live. Like I've said it on Tumblr before, like a tattoo is not worth your college education if your parents, really tell you, if you get that tattoo, I'm not paying for college anymore. Like if I was ever in that situation, I'd be like, college, not a tattoo of manatees. But when you find yourself, evolved out of that situation, maybe they don't pay for your college anymore, maybe you're not financially bound to them in any way, like I said, you evolve out of them, and they can be your mutual and listen to you and take what you say critically and find you interesting, you know, be able to have a conversation with you, or they're just your parents. And one day you are going to experience that, and you will no longer live in the shadow of your parents and your parents' expectations, and you become your own person. This is an interesting phenomenon, and I feel like people think, oh, like in your 20s, like everything is easier, you're an adult now. But there are a ton of growing pains that you experience in your 20s, and one of them is shedding your parents and shedding their rules and their expectations of you and creating your own sense of self. You know, my parents were pretty confused when I started getting heavily tattooed. And then I remember a conversation I had with my mom pretty distinctly. Like, I think I was like wearing a cardigan or like a flannel, maybe in spring, early summer. And my mom was like, why are you always covering your tattoos? Why did you get them? And I was like, I didn't get them to show them off. And I can't tell you why I got them because I don't think you'll understand. And, you know, it may be a generational thing, or it just might be the consciousness to understand and the ability to understand. And as much as you have to see your parent as an equal and no longer your caretaker, your parent has to meet you halfway and view you as an equal and not like a child. And you're no longer subservient to them and like what they need. And I think, you know, as a growing pain, like in your 20s, or like if you experience a lifestyle change, that's a growing pain too. If your parents don't, or like your caretakers, if they don't think and like open themselves up to that idea that like you are changing and you are no longer like a part of them and you no longer represent them, like this is my child. If they can't see you as an equal, they're never going to accept that you are evolving past them and past the experiences and the stuff that they gave you as a parent. The day you are no longer parented by your parents, you know, it's a growing pain for them as well. And I think I was able to completely grow out of that because, you know, early on I was like, my parents are not a parent to me, and I am in control of myself. And I have to do what makes me happy, and I can no longer live in the eye of my parents because that doesn't make me happy. And being that person, how long can I be that person? I was already that person for a really long time. And if my mom can't really understand why I'm getting tattoos and is rejectful of it and feels as if I'm making myself ugly, whereas I feel like I'm making myself look better, or I'm happy with the way it looks, you're never going to understand each other. But I'm telling you, it's okay. Not everybody in your life, or even you, has to rely on their parents once they reach a certain age, and that's why it is okay for your parents to not agree with you. One day, they will become so much less a part of your lives if they don't want to be, and if they don't want to like accept you and understand why you're getting tattoos or body modifications or why your hair's blue or why you're always wearing a beanie. Like, if they don't want to think openly about that, then they lose you. And that is okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's okay to shed your parents, especially if you're not ready or it's not something you wanted to do, but you have to decide, do I live in my parents' image well through my 20s and my 30s, and my 40s? Then what? You spend your whole life making your parents happy. That's why I say, you know, you are stuck if you're in college or whatever and your parents say, do not get a tattoo, it's my only wish. Literally kind of have to like listen to them or financially support yourself. And I'll always say like, yes, I think that it is like a little bit of troublesome behavior for your parents to be like, you can't have this thing because I'm still in control of you. But they are in financial control of you. But hey, you can get a 9-to-5 and try and take care of yourself. I'm just letting you know, like, you can take care of yourself. It's really hard, but one day you'll have to anyway. That's why I say, if your parents are not accepting of you, you have to shed them and you have to take them out of your life. And it is popular culture to believe that our parents are omnipotent and that they'll always be above us and all-knowing and all wisdom. However, you'll find your pace and you'll shed them. And if they don't view you as an equal, they lose you. But that's okay. You don't have to fight it. You can call them on Christmas or never, and you'll still be all right. You'll find friends that accommodate you, and even if your friends aren't tattooed, if they talk to you and have a conversation with you that engages you and gets you thinking, and you're talking about your tattoos and it's helpful and it feels good, you might not necessarily be able to have those conversations with your parents. That's okay. We grow to excel past our parents. And if that's their only job, you have to achieve it. And if it means that you open up your head and your mind to getting tattoos and living a certain lifestyle, like I can lend this to veganism. My parents never really understood. Getting tattooed, all the things that I like that they never understood, it's not rebellion. I'm not rebelling against my parents living in Philly and getting a full back tattoo. They just don't understand, so I don't involve them. And that's absolutely okay. It's so okay. I would never try to sit down and convince my parents to like my tattoos. And I'm not gonna have an epiphany if on my deathbed my mom's like, Amanda, I get it. I'd be like, well, you wasted a ton of time not getting it before. Also, you don't have to get it because I don't expect you to. The weight of my expectation of my parents is I should survive and be good and have a good job and not need any help from them. And I think I do that well, covered in tattoos or not. I think if you're a good person and you're not an asshole, your parents, why would they take that one little thing and give it so much weight? Like, oh man, you're fully tattooed. And you're like, well, I pay my taxes. But what I'm trying to say, and if I lost the message, I'm really sorry, is you can't please your parents forever, and you don't have to. If your parents don't like your tattooed body, good. Someone else will. I had a professor in community college who just had so many fucking problems with me being like a small, tiny girl getting tattoos. When he would keep me after class and ask me why, I do have this idea that I don't have to educate every man who asks me a question about my body. But I understood that the things I would tell him didn't penetrate. He had his own idea of what I was doing and why I was being tattooed, and he would listen to me as a novelty to not to gain understanding of my lifestyle and my choices, but almost as entertainment value, just observationally and not critically. I'm too tired to change my professor at Community College of Philadelphia's mind. I don't have to do that. Obviously, if you come home and your mother is in tears, she's devastated. Oh, I gave you this body and you put a devil on your back. Obviously console your mother, but don't let her make you feel bad unless down the road in, 10 years you decide, I don't want any tattoos. But if it's your choice and you made it and you felt good about it and you felt confident until you came home for Thanksgiving and your parents are up in arms about your decision, did you feel bad about it until your parents made you? So I just think, some of us can have a lifelong relationship with our parents and they accept us, and no matter what we do, you can have an open conversation with them. I'm able to call my grandmom and tell her whatever, I can be like, oh, grandmom, I can't talk right now, I'm at the bar. Your parents will see you one day as an equal. And if they never do, then they lose you. But I'm telling you, that's okay. So this has been Tattoo Talk Tuesday. I'm really grateful for the question. You know, as somebody who's answered it, like, I feel like it's not an answer you want to hear, but it's one of those, like, sorry, this is a growing pain of life. I always feel bad answering it, especially when my answer is like, if your dad pays for your car, like, don't fuck up your dad's relationship with you until you get your own car. But if you do right by you and you don't fuck your parents over, like, that's what it is. And in my life, I know people who have amazing relationships with their parents and ones that have zero relationship with their parents. And you might be envious of one, but do you live more comfortably in the one that you are designed to be in? Who knows? I don't know. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed. I have a whole playlist of previous episodes of Tattoo Talk Tuesday, so even though there was a... Okay, different camera. So even though there was a little bit of lull in the previous weeks, just know there's plenty of content to go around. So hit that subscribe button and make sure to follow me on Instagram if you're interested. Tomorrow I will be going to New York City to get interviewed by Inked Magazine. So follow me along on my Instagram. It is Quiet Cool Kid. I'll have things posted to my Instagram story so you can follow along with that. I don't know how much of the content like that is performed tomorrow like belongs to me. So follow along on my Instagram story if you are interested in how that goes. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, but I think it will be a nice little exercise for the channel to experience that. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for your patience, and I love you. Bye.